What's up, guys? This is Boondocks, and I'm going to be doing something kind of different. I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Hugo Awards, and they're now going to have on their voting for the best book uh, one of my favorite book series of all time, and that's The Wheel of Time. It was initially started by Robert Jordan, then after his death, it was completed by my favorite author, Brandon Sanderson. And this particular submission for voting has actually come under a little bit of dispute, and I actually agree with it. The reason it's come under dispute is typically whenever you vote for something as the best novel, it's usually either going to be a standalone novel or a particularly strong novel in a given series. The way that they've actually voted for The Wheel of Time is for it to be an entire series being voted for. From what I understand, what Brandon Sanderson has actually put out is that under the way the Hugo Awards are actually established, this is totally fine. It was originally taken that a series can be accepted as an entire whole novel because it follows the exact same story the entire. And unlike some series, even Brandon Sanderson's own other works like Mistborn, where there's clear jumps from one point to another, as one book finishes, the next book begins, we'll say, months later. Such as in Mistborn, the first book ends, and then The Well of Ascension is the second book, and it takes place well after a new government has been put into place, and so on and so forth. Wheel of Time, on the other hand, where one book ends, the next one immediately begins. And the characters all live in one giant story, and it's amazing. The issue I have with it is, to me, it doesn't really meet the exact criteria of a novel per se. Partly because, and again, it's unfortunate because Robert Jordan was an amazing writer, but when you have two authors penning one novel, it's different than a standalone novel, in my personal opinion. Don't get me wrong, it's still amazing, and like I've already said, Brandon Sanderson is my favorite. In addition to that, Wheel of Time does pull a lot of outside sources into its own theory, such as having one male who suddenly is able to possess powers far reaching that of the women, which typically are the sole people of power, magical power in this instance. And this, to me, very much represents Dune. If you haven't read Dune, it follows the same idea, where a mystical group of women who are strong in outside powers are expecting a future where a man has far more power than all of them. And it's pretty much exactly what happens in The Wheel of Time. I don't think that's really giving it away because it is 14 books long, and you sort of figure this out almost immediately when they start talking about the dragon. So, there's that. And in addition, there's certain points where some of the particular novels in the entire series, they drag on for a little bit. So, to me, it just doesn't seem like the perfect set. And in addition to all of that, it also breaks from my own personal feeling as far as world building and magic systems go, where they take the easy way out. For instance, going back to what most people consider one of the best series of all time, The Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of Deus Ex Machina that occurs in that book. And to that extent, I can't even bring myself to read it. Partly because I did see the movies before I really got into fantasy reading heavily, and I already knew how it was going to end. It didn't really excite me, especially because the ending in it is so kind of messed up, and I know a lot of people have pointed it out, but if they have giant eagles as friends that fly from Mount Doom and Mordor and take away the little hobbits at the end to save their lives, Why didn't they just fly over top at the beginning in a giant bombing run? I mean, even if a few of them got taken out and you managed to get in there and drop the freaking ring into the mountain, and you'd be done. But then again, you wouldn't have a full book. In addition to that, there's no basis on the magic system. I don't know what the wizards can or can't do in Lord of the Rings, just like in the Wheel of Time. Whenever there seems to be a problem, suddenly the magic evolves, and they can suddenly do something else that allows them to overcome the adversity. I've never felt like the characters in the Wheel of Time were ever limited, because as soon as something bad happened, they would just be able to fix it by some hocus pocus. For instance, at the beginning of the book series, the first few, a lot of it was dedicated to the journey. By that, I mean traveling from point A to point B. What happened along the way? What adversity did you have to overcome? How difficult was it? What relationships were built during this time? By the end of Wheel of Time, not even the end, about halfway through the series, all the characters can now start to just teleport. Wherever the fuck they feel like, poof, they're there, teleport. Easy. And it's not just teleporting themselves, they can teleport other people. So now they start moving entire armies wherever they feel like. In addition to that, the magic that the men can use is supposed to drive them insane, to the point that the previous dragon killed his entire family. Now the main character, Rand, you're afraid that he's going to eventually become insane and kill his entire family. Well, hocus pocus, we cured your insanity, which had been slowly building up. This is further kind of distracted because a certain event occurs where his personality changes, and I feel like that would have been a better time to cure his insanity than just hocus pocus earlier, because it would have been more impactful, we'll say. Additionally, at the beginning of the series, there was a lot in character development and relationship development, and I feel like it kind of got a little bit rushed at the end. This might have had something to do with the sheer volume of characters they had, where at the beginning it was rather limited, and near the end there's a countless number of perspective characters. And when I say perspective, I mean their inner thoughts, that even the minor characters and the relationships with them just get buried underneath the surface. So in the end, I'm left believing that the sheer volume of the story caused a lot of things to be left out. And a lot of the romantic side of things, I just wound up not seeing. Why did these women love Rand? And yes, some of the other major love stories, like with Matt, they're a lot more touching, and you got to see how it actually developed and became what it was. And with one of Rand's women, you actually see how it's developed and becomes as powerful as it was. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it was the best story ever. And because of that, I can't also agree that it can beat out other nominations at the Hugo Awards. With that being said, I don't read as much as I used to. When I was deployed, I read a lot, and sadly, I don't know the other submissions for the Hugo Awards. So, by all means, if you're actually watching this and care, and please point it out to me, other books that are nominated for the best novel that definitely beat this out, I would love to read them. And if not, then tell me why, because I'm very interested, and for all I know, it could have just been a poor year for great novels. So, that's my personal stance. While The Wheel of Time I absolutely love, it's lacking in a few key areas that, to me, make the entire series as a whole not representative of an amazing novel. So, anyways, guys, get back to me. I would use my normal sign-off, but you can't really have good luck while reading. So, anyways, have fun. Peace.